Principal Skinner! Bart's missing.
Bart's gone? What a tragedy. To get your mind off this terrible loss, which we all feel, why don't you run a few errands, or as I call them, grief helpers for me?
But Bart's only missing.
Well, looking for that little monster, treasure, can't help anything. You might as well pick up Mother's dry cleaning for me.
Hey, folks. Welcome back to Simpsons Hit and Run, and I have JT with me today.
Howdy, hey. I am perhaps the biggest Simpsons head you will have on to talk about Hit and Run.
The resident Simpsons connoisseur.
And, yeah, it's my pleasure. First off, I was curious, how far are you in your, going through, The Simpsons? Are you on a particular season or anything?
Oh, in the show?
Yeah.
I have not been watching The Simpsons the last few weeks. I stopped halfway through season 10. I do hope to keep going, because the show has not gotten bad to me yet. It's certainly not hitting as hard as seasons like 5 through 8 or so.
Yeah, there's definitely a noticeable dip in quality, and I feel like while it's still funny, I'd say until maybe like 14, 15, it just, the early seasons have such a cool, like, satirical edge where, I don't know, I feel like you watch the seasons 2 through 8 of The Simpsons, and they're the best sort of satire of, like, American life in the 90s that there is. And then everything, like, kind of after that, that's, like, those, like, afterward, like, good seasons are just, like, kind of, like, funny stories that have the characters.
I would agree. So, I mean, my plan was to basically just go till I got bored, and, you know, I've just, as always, my mind has drifted to other things. Like, right now, Liv and I are watching through Seinfeld, so, which, I mean, like, I've seen, but just fun to go through the show again. But I do plan to continue watching Simpsons, and before this LP is out, I want to, first of all, I've been making a list of the episodes of The Simpsons that have stood out to me as particularly funny. So I'd like to go back and revisit those. And, because I would like to have, at some point in this LP, I'd like to have you and maybe some other people on for a powwow of our favorite either Simpsons episodes or Simpsons quotes, or maybe both. And I'd also like to see the Simpsons movie, because I've never seen that, and I feel like that would be a good thing to talk about in this run.
That was,
so, yeah.
Simpsons movie was honestly, like, that came at, like, the peak time for me being a Simpsons fan, because I think I was probably...
Well, you were 12 when that came out.
Yeah, it was right when right after I had started to get into it. I think it's between, like, a gap between, like, maybe 18 and 19 when the movie happens or something like that. Some point in there and that run. And that, for the movie, they brought back a lot of the old showrunners. Like, I know David Merkin for sure was involved in the movie in some capacity. And I think the movie holds up, like, pretty well. Like, I mean...
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I think it's, there are a lot of good gags. There's I don't know, not to spoil anything for you, but you do see Bart's penis.
Oh, I am well aware of that.
And that, like, I don't know, that bit, was definitely one that, like, just, like, that's the movie kind of content you get there.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what you want out of a
stuff that you're not going to get from TV.
Right, that's what you want out of a movie adaptation of the TV show, is stuff that's too hot for TV.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's like, also, I think it's funny how, and the Simpsons movie has this, where, like, there's that certain look to 2D movies of animated shows where, you know, it's like the higher budget, so it mostly just comes down to, like, they draw shadows on the characters that normally aren't there. Like, there's just that little bit of added detail to it. I always love seeing that. You don't really get that anymore. That's one reason why, even though I'm not really expecting the movie to be all that great, I am excited to see the Bob's Burgers movie in theaters, because I'm just excited to see a 2D animated movie in the theater, because it's been a really long time since I've seen that, and it's cool to see something that has that sort of aesthetic of, it's a movie based on a TV cartoon. I was always surprised they never did a theatrical Family Guy movie. They could have made bank on that.
Oh my god, there's still hope, man. I mean, it would be like years beyond the peak of popularity of the show.
Yeah, at this point they should just wait another 10 years until people are like nostalgic. You probably won't even have to wait that long for Family Guy to like go through a cycle of reevaluation.
Well, I mean, I think in terms of like animated adult sitcom movies, really the only one that hits at the peak of popularity is because Bob's Burgers, like that even feels late for it now.
Oh yeah, I mean that movie was greenlit like years ago, and it takes like 4 years to make an animated movie, and then it was delayed a bunch of times because of COVID. So,
but I think the only one that really like clicks at like the right time is the South Park movie.
I was gonna say that was really at like maybe not the zenith of South Park popularity, but came at the exact right time for the movie.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I mean, I'm glad for the Simpsons one that they knew. I mean, because like it's weird that there is like, I don't know, such publicly like such public criticism about like a noticeable decline in the show, where just like, I don't know, if you're working like as a part of the staff, I mean, I imagine like to a certain extent you just don't fucking give a shit because you're rolling in like Simpsons slipper cash.
Yeah, well now and they just got like Twitter people writing for that show.
Weird. I haven't.
I don't know if you know that, but I'm pretty sure like Megan Amram has written some Simpsons episodes.
That's so fucking weird. I want to like check in, like every now and then, like every few years, I have that morbid curiosity to just be like, okay, let's see, like checking the pulse of a dying man and being like, what's this at? Or have you died yet? Have you petered out?
Yeah.
And it just gets like, fucking worse and worse. Like the
little bits of it that I see make me be like, no, it's probably not worth it for me to watch like 700 hours of Simpsons shit.
Yeah, just because like I at one point I was like gonna be a Simpsons completist. Like I was like in.
I still think you should do that, but I'm certainly not gonna force you to.
It's just like so much torture, really, because it like when I did it, I
want to say I got busted for hit and run twice in one mission. It's pretty good. I just want to note, by the way, to actually comment on the game for 1 sec. I really like the school bus. It's very fun to smash up things in the big car. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Continue.
No, I mean, I love this. Also, like, is one of the best. I mean, like, obviously, like, it certainly is not without its problems. But like one of the best video game adaptations of like an existing like property like this. Like I played the Simpsons. There's like, did it come out like to be paired with the movie, or like?
Are you talking about the Simpsons game?
Yeah.
That's called the Simpsons game.
Yeah.
I was talking about that in a recent video about how I kind of want to try it. Yeah, that's just like a straight 3D action platformer.
That one's pretty fun. Like
it looks fun, and it's kind of when I'm like running around aimlessly and doing all the extra bullshit in this game. I like the driving stuff in this game, but whenever I'm doing that, I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of wish there was just a Simpsons game that was just stuff like this, where you're like running around and defeating enemies and collecting stuff. And they did make that, and it came out the same year as the movie. It's not like related to the story of the movie or an adaptation of the movie, but
it from my memory of it, a lot of the it's very much so based on like the meta aspect of like being aware that it's a video game and there's like video
that
game
I do
bullshit involved with it. And that one has like a more I don't know, like it's more well written than Hit and Run. Like Hit and Run, I think like is intermittently funny, like with lines.
It
of
does
dialogue.
have some good bits.
But because it's
the overarching
like a
story is
platformer
not very funny,
and like has an overarching story, I think it like works a little bit better. And then it has like the 2D like cut scenes of the Simpsons that like make it work a little bit more.
I definitely want to check it out. If I play it and I like it enough, I might even LP it on here.
Hell yeah, brother.
Speaking of which, we're talking to the comic book guy right now. In the last video, I highlighted a line by the comic book guy in this that I find very funny, where he's talking about purchasing the most expensive issue of the Itchy and Scratchy comic, and he says it's a very controversial issue in which they finally kiss.
I think that
I
might
just like
be
the idea
a line
of
from
Itchy
the
and
show.
Scratchy kiss. Is that a line from the show? It kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm
sure they've made at least a similar joke on the show at some point.
Yeah.
And I drew the comparison of Ignatz and Crazy Cat, of their like sort of repressed romance.
To return to the thought of being Simpsons completist, the last time I checked in was probably when I was in like early college, and my distinct memories are of like some truly bad episodes were they go to Israel at one point. There's like season 21. There's a Jerusalem episode where I think Sacha Baron Cohen is in it. I think kind of doing like a character with something of a Borat shtick. Like again, like however many years way too late. And then I think the Lisa meeting Lady Gaga episode
well, didn't they recently have an Elon Musk episode?
Yeah, that like not all that recently. I want to say that was
it was a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
And I'm pretty sure he literally like paid for that.
But it's just
spot.
Like, I mean, obviously I'm not the first to say it. It's a pretty common critique of like late Simpsons is that like it is just like pumping and dumping like the guest stars because it's such like an institution and so famous, and that like people are like like it's just so weird because like even now people like I hear celebs be like, oh, my kids really love The Simpsons and like wanted us to be on it, and it's just like it baffles me that like there are no kids watching The Simpsons anymore.
Are your kids
like
38 years old?
It's just I don't know of anyone like that. I think I
don't know
in my
any
day-to-day.
children who even know about The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's like children, adults, otherwise it boggles the mind who is like tuning in to like Fox Animation Sundays and being like, oh man, like I'm 30 years and still going strong. The Simpsons really are cranking out another hit.
Yeah, for anyone under 20, The Simpsons is a short-lived vaporwave aesthetic and little else. It's a meme generator. And the crazy thing is, as we've talked about many times before, like, because I came a little bit too late to the Simpsons zeitgeist, and the cartoon about yellow people that I grew up watching was SpongeBob. It's crazy that even SpongeBob has been around that long, that it's having a similar thing where now, like, just they have crazy guest stars in almost every episode just because it's like, oh yeah, my kids watch SpongeBob and they wanted me to be into it. Now there it makes a little bit more sense because like it is a children's show,
but also
kids don't watch. I don't think many kids watch SpongeBob as like their main thing anymore.
And kids aren't watching it, like, the thing with guest stars, like, it makes more sense for me with The Simpsons because it's, like, a dying old show
at least
trying to,
adults
like, get
might
people to
know
watch.
what...
Because it's
right.
just like, this is... I like Lady Gaga. They have her on The Simpsons. Like, that's kind of neat. Like, I'll check this out. But, like, I don't know, a kid is not going to recognize any, like, big guest star. It's only for the people making the show, and then, like, I don't know, adults forced to watch it.
Yeah, and the actor's child's friends at school. That's who enjoys it. Yeah, and it's weird because like the guest stars in the old episodes of SpongeBob were literally just like people that the creator liked, and had to like ask to be on it. But now it's like. It's really strange. I mean, The Simpsons and SpongeBob, and The Simpsons is just even more so by virtue of being an older show, are really good, like, easy examples of the fact that, like, our pop culture is, like, a mummy of itself, where, you know, we're just, like... just the like animated corpses of shit from the 90s is what makes up everything.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I guess The Simpsons are just something that regardless of whether anyone's watching it or not, you're
That's
still
the other thing,
be
like
able to sell
who watches
shit.
The Simpsons? Like ostensibly if it's on, there are people tuning in. So who is it? Who... Because I have literally never heard a single human being in my life talk about a Simpsons episode that is, like, new. For most of the time I've been alive. And that's the shame, and this is true for SpongeBob as well. Although, I have to say, and this is a much more... doable undertaking than all of Simpsons because it's a show that's been around half as long, but I do kind of want to catch up to SpongeBob because I have seen some clips of like new SpongeBob episodes where SpongeBob has been around long enough, and not only that, but the criticism that the show is bad now has been around long enough that now there's like a whole new generation of writers and animators being hired to the show that are like conscious of that and are trying to do something different. And I've only seen clips of it, but at least animation-wise, it is like kind of intriguing to me to see that sort of progression.
That's something about The Simpsons where it's just like, for me, in terms of the decline of the show, like early seasons, early like episodes that aren't as good, like the animation style is still pretty like neat. Like there's still like a lot of really well done sequences and whatnot, but there is just like such a hideous flatness that comes to like the later like CG.
Family Guy has that issue too.
Like episodes, and it's just like God.
And
like,
new Bob's Burgers as well.
It's like how do you watch this when it just looks so like fucking cold?
Yeah, like when I saw that Elon Musk clip, it was like, this looks like a Newgrounds animation or something.
Yeah, it's weird, and I don't know. It's like, I mean, I guess it makes sense with just like the fact that they're like things can't die or end, and it's just like cultural institutions at a
also
certain
just
point.
like in this like era, like in digital and everything, everything is just kind of like on a digital conveyor belt now.
I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at, is just like that the two meet at a certain point where it's just like, and I mean, again, like, I think we should all, like, like hand-drawn animation is incredibly difficult and like a very labor-intensive process. So it's just like yearning for that. And I mean, there's a lot of issues with like where they would send the cells to Korea to be like hand painted and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
and that like it was basically like kind of like slave labor.
Oh yeah, that's the case with SpongeBob as well. Rough Draft Studios in Seoul is where a lot of the like fine tuning of the animation and coloring took place.
But like now, I mean, I'm just not as familiar with like digital animation. That's not happening now at this point, right? Like with digital,
Well, that's the thing, is that for all of the like streamlining of the process of animation in the digital era, it's not like it's produced any like better working results for animators or anything like that. Better working conditions for animators.
True.
So, like, you know, you can like excuse the shoddiness of the animation as like, oh well, you know, at least it's not quite as labor intensive or time intensive. It's like, well, these people are still like exploited and subject to crunch and all of that type of thing. And it's like, you know, not to be a total asshole, but you know, at least 20 years ago, our labor exploitation got us some shit that looked good sometimes.
Yeah.
So you know, if you can't change one thing, if you can only change one thing.
And it's funny because like around the time like where I was full peak like Simpsons brain, like watching commentaries for like the classic 2 through 8 seasons, you hear like showrunners and writers talking about how good and like amazing and crisp and like it is like now that the show has gone to digital, like them when they're like talking about like, because they are talking about like certain like difficulties with like coloring and just like issues that the show would run into like from time to time before. And it's just like, it's just weird that to me anyone would prefer like the look of like the crisp digital, like just, I mean, especially someone like working in animation. I mean, I guess they're kind of like lies you have to tell yourself, and like you can't like, even if you're aware that the show has some decline and like are doing it for a paycheck, like you don't like, that's not a pleasant thing to have to live with.
Right. I also think, though, you got, like, you know, the experience of day-to-day working in this, like, things that come off to us as charming imperfections might be, like, things that people who work on the show would prefer not to have happen, like, their problems that they have to solve. So I can kind of understand people being like, oh, this is easy as shit, I love this, even if it, like, looks objectively worse. I think that's a big part of, you know, like, the appeal of like, digital workflow in film and stuff now, is that just like it's easy, it removes more opportunities for problems. But anyway, the video is about to be over. I hope you will join me for the next one, because I think we have a lot more to talk about.
Absolutely, baby.
So yeah, see you guys next time for the Marge level.